What if the home that you know and love one day was no longer standing? What if you had to decide in the middle of some kind of emergency, be it wildfire, hurricane, other kind of natural disaster? What if you had to decide between saving your life and saving the life of your pet? How would you respond in that situation? I know a lot of our audience members are helpers, they're social workers, they're vet techs, they're caretakers. So my question is, how would you begin to navigate and pick up the pieces of your own life while also making sure that the animals and people that you take care of are seen after? And also, on top of that, making sure that the community that you live and work in can build back a little bit better piece by piece with the love and assistance of you. That's something that we're going to be talking about today in this episode, among many other things. I know that we are living in an era of unprecedented natural disasters, and in my next life, I will create a climate change podcast, but we're not going to talk about climate change today. We are going to explore today on the Street Dog podcast, brought to you by the Street Dog Coalition, a little bit about what's going on in Asheville. And before we talk about our team in Asheville and introduce our amazing guest, I want to let any new listeners know that the Street Dog Coalition is a national nonprofit providing free veterinary care and related services to pets of people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. I am your host, Daria Tavana, and I'm also the Director of Development at the Street Dog Coalition. I'm really excited to introduce our guest for today's episode. It is, of course, Dr. Mash Hess, the remarkable co-team lead of our Asheville, North Carolina Street Dog Coalition team. Mash is a graduate of the University of Tennessee, bringing her love for the mountains and community engagement to our vital mission. And recently, Mash's work, along with the work of Mash's co-team lead, Kat, has taken on new urgency as MASH supports pets and their guardians affected by Hurricane Helene, offering critical assistance to Asheville's homeless and at-risk populations at a period of time where, God, do they need it the most. So we're going to be talking a little bit about MASH's inspiring story and the incredible resilience that she has shown during these particularly challenging times. So welcome to the podcast, MASH.
Thanks so much for having me, Daria.
Absolutely. And I can already tell from our very brief interactions so far, you have this calm energy. Maybe it's because we navigated some tech issues before we hit before we hit record.
Got all the jitters out.
Got all the jitters out. That's right. But you have this really like beautiful, not to get all woo woo on everyone, but you have this like really calm, anchoring presence that like just feels unfazed and unbothered and really full of hope. And again, I'm just saying this after having spoken with you for a few minutes. So I just want to thank you so much for all that you've done for our Street Dog Coalition family before this natural disaster. Our Asheville team is one of our most beloved teams. And it is really so unfortunate and such a shame that your team is navigating the ups and downs of the aftermath of Hurricane Helene right now. But we're also really grateful to have someone as calming and as centered as you, and also as as your co-team lead, Kat, at the helm of some of these efforts happening in Asheville. So I just want to thank you for the 10th time, and I'm sure I'm going to continue to thank you throughout this episode. We're just really, really grateful for you, Mash, and really, really happy to have you as part of our Street Dog Coalition family.
Well, thank you. I feel just really humbled by the outpouring of support that we've gotten in Asheville. It is really great to be here, and we had to delay our regularly scheduled October street dog event. We rescheduled, and the number of volunteers that were just coming out and saying, "Absolutely, I will be there. I will be there." And Kat and I are talking about extending the time a little bit as well from our usual 3 hours, so that we can, we expect a larger volume, and we want to be able to get to all of those pets. So
Mm,
we're working on it, and I can't say thank you enough to Catherine Ash, who, I mean, really is the heart and soul of the Asheville chapter, and of putting herself out there, doing all of these relief efforts as well, getting a mobile clinic together, just really getting out there every day, and experiencing all of this from the get go. So
yeah.
love you, Catherine.
Love you, Catherine. That's right. No, Catherine was supposed to be joining us today, but Catherine is, uh, of course, out there saving lives, literally as we speak. So,
Yes. She
so
never stops, that
she
woman.
never stops. She never
Never
stops.
does.
And we love her for that. And we're so grateful to Catherine for that. And maybe you can kind of tell us a little bit about how you mash, how you got here. Can you share a little bit about what inspired you to even pursue a career in veterinary medicine and how your experiences at the University of Tennessee kind of shaped your path? I know a lot of people listening to this episode, a lot of them are vet students, aspiring veterinarians. So it's always really helpful, I think, for those members of our audience to feel a little bit less alone in their journey right now as a student.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely. So, you know, um, being a student often feels a bit lonely, feels a bit overwhelmed. I was extremely lucky to be at the University of Tennessee. In my opinion, there just is no better. There's no better vet school. Go Vols. Um, Uh, and one of the things that really is great about Tennessee, one of the things that drew me to apply there in the first place and then finally accept is, Tennessee is the volunteer state, right? But UT-CVM really embodies that. And they, through from staff to professors to the students, the organizations that work within the veterinary school are all really designed around improving everyone's quality of life. As Street Dog loves to say, working at both ends of the leash. And they really do that. There are so many great programs over there that just are amazing. And I remember when I first heard about them, I thought, that's really cool. For example, we have a veterinary social work degree program.
Awesome.
It's so cool, and it's really pretty unique. Dr. Elizabeth Strand was heading that up. I believe she's still heading it up over there, but she's there training future veterinary social workers, and she's
Wow.
also there as an ear to all of us as students, to the professors, to staff, um, to clients. And that's really great. They have grief support groups for the community. Um, she's there, the social workers are there for difficult situations when clients are having trouble. It's how we learn a lot of our client communication skills is from
Mm.
the the lovely help of Dr. Strand and her grad students. And it really makes a huge difference, I think, having that influence to create that sort of you can do this attitude. It's going to be hard, and that's okay. And we're going to give you the tools to get through it. And that was really invaluable, and certainly something that I've taken with me from my veterinary school days. Um, I could go on and on about the kinds of things
That's that's a
like
that's
UT
just so,
does. It's really great.
you
They've
know, I
got,
I
I'm
was
sorry.
gonna say I love that. I think that, what I'm hearing is this. You were kind of offered this dose of hope alongside this dose of reality. And what a better institution to kind of shape your future. I can totally relate, and I know anybody who has had, any kind of formal education where they were given both tough love and very nurturing love, really
Mhm.
appreciates both, sides of that coin. So I love to hear that you were instilled with a sense of hope, were instilled with a sense of like self and perseverance. But you were also told like this is a hard line of work to get into. And we're not just talking about like professional competition here. We're probably talking about, I'm assuming, working with clients that can be really challenging. The ups and downs and, the highs and the lows and the heartaches of treating animals. Some days are really good, other days are really challenging and heartbreaking. I am not a veterinarian, so I should stop putting words in your mouth, but does that feel true to you?
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, that you've obviously spoken to a lot of veterinarians and
I
veterinary
have.
staff. It's a very tough profession, and there's always that like anyone I ever meet that says, oh, you're a veterinarian. I wanted to be a vet too, but I just, there's always the but. I wanted to, but. Um, and I think to go back to your previous question, I'll tie this in. I was one of those classic people. I always wanted to be a veterinarian. When
Mm.
I was a kid, I would always find the animal in the room, no matter where we were. Starting from the moment I could walk, I was had my eye on the cat. I had my eye on the dog. I wanted to look at the wild animal or whatever. That's where I wanted to be. It's where I felt the most peace and fulfillment. And I come from a family of scientists of various sorts. So there was always this, there was that compassion and that feeling and that draw that was always the other side of the coin was that science, the anatomy, the reality, the algorithm, that kind of linear type A sort of thing tempered with, I want to do it to that thing that can't help itself. I want that. I want to help them. Um, and so, that there was never a but for me. It was always, I want to be a veterinarian and I'm going to. It was tough. And I didn't even get into vet school my first try either, which is not an uncommon story. It's definitely hard, but um my first go around when I first applied didn't get in anywhere. So, just stuck with it. Got a job working at a ER as a vet assistant and then reapplied the next year and got in. So, that perseverance starts way early on.
Yeah.
When you really decide you want to get in it, you're in it hard, deep
There's
to
there's
get there.
nothing there's nothing more motivating than a no, than
Yeah,
a rejection letter,
it's so
than a
true.
door shut in your face.
That's right. As where hang on, wait 1 second. I'm gonna find that key. You're like immediately
Exactly.
looking like I'm gonna just give me a minute. I'll hang on. Don't go anywhere. I'm coming through.
I
You
love that
gotta
you
do
said, "I'm gonna find that key." In my head, I'm like, "I'm gonna pick that lock.
it.
I'm gonna stomp that. Might break my shoulder, but I'm busting through that door. It's getting messy in here." So
That's
this is
that's
really
a
amazing.
scientist in me is like, there's gotta be something somewhere here.
Right? Exactly. Exactly. I love that. I love that. And it's, it's clear to me that that you're so committed to helping pets and people regardless of who tells you to wait a minute, regardless of who tells you better luck next time. So I really think like that kind of perseverance, I imagine maybe you like do you find that you see that perseverance in the clients that you serve at our Street Dog Coalition clinics? Is that what inspired you to join the Street Dog Coalition team? Maybe we can talk a little bit about what motivated you to become a co-team lead?
Yeah, I would love to talk about that.
Yay.
So as a little to definitely, I would say yes. I mean, the once I've now that I've been in it, having gotten started and started volunteering, the amount of just love and dedication that all of these people have for their pets is always awe-inspiring. It just really touches you the moment you get out there, and I think that there definitely are a lot of preconceived notions of what homelessness is, what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it entails. There's this idea of, well, if you can't afford the pet, you shouldn't have the pet. If you're homeless, don't have something that you can't provide shelter to.
Mm.
Um, and that's really just not that's not true. Um, and homelessness and the risk of homelessness, which at the moment with Helene, I feel like is half of Asheville. But there's there's this feeling of having something bigger than yourself, and we're all looking for that.
Yeah.
And when you have another thing that depends on you, it's for some of these people, it's the thing that gets them up every day. It's the thing that gets them going is their friend. They will put their own needs aside. They're gonna, if they're finding shelter, it's because of that pet that they have
Wow.
with them. And so if the one thing we can do is take that uncertainty out of their lives, if we can provide them with food and make sure they have heartworm prevention and make sure they're not going to get sick or that their ears aren't bothering them anymore, or we're taking care of, their teeth, or we're making sure they get spayed or neutered, sometimes that's what makes a difference to them finding a home as well. Being able to say, yes, my pet, whom I'm not leaving without, is vaccinated. They are spayed or neutered. They have the things that they need. Let me into this apartment. And we get requests like that all the time, which always brings a smile to my face when someone's like, I need this because I found a place. I need my records. I
I
need
love
to prove
hearing
this.
that
I could do
too.
that. It's just really amazing to know that um, we're helping people sometimes get back on their feet, or just keeping them going. And a lot of our clients too, they come every single clinic,
Yeah.
and some of them are there for just to come and talk. They just want someone to recognize that they're normal, they are human beings, and that they love their pets. And
Mm.
to have that, oh man, I am so glad that you brought Ruckus back. Look at how big he got. This is so sweet. Oh, we just love it. I mean, our regulars are some of my favorite clients to see, even when they just come to, they're really just coming to say hello, I'm pretty sure.
I
And
love
but I love that. I
I
love that
love
they're
that
coming for that.
too. We've talked about that actually a few times on the podcast. I live outside of Philadelphia, so I know some of our Philadelphia clients do the same thing. They come to the clinics because they've had a great experience in the past, and sometimes they just come to say hello, even if they don't need our services in the moment. And we actually have one of our clients and fellow activists and advocates, John Mark, who is amazing, who is commenting right now on our live video. John Mark is such an incredible force for good. And I'm laughing because John Mark is calling you Austin because of your little Zoom name says
Oh,
Austin, making me laugh.
yes, I'm on
So
my husband's computer. His name is Austin.
I love it. I love it. I didn't have to mention that, but it was just too funny to not mention. But John Mark says that you were born to be a trailblazer, and also John Mark says when you mentioned that people have misinterpretations of homelessness, that is the reason why we need to have a specific language to understand in order to understand people who are homeless. So what I'm hearing John Mark say here is that it's just among many things, it's really important for people who just so happen to, at this moment in time, have a roof over their head to remain in dialogue with people who might be living on the street or in transitional housing so that we can kind of bridge that gap that naturally, unfortunately, happens between people who are unhoused and people who do have homes. And I say, people who happen to have homes in this moment, because as we've seen from Hurricane Helene, we are all a few paychecks away from living on the street for the most part. We are all one natural disaster away from having all of our possessions and belongings, and sometimes our line of work taken from us. I know that your co-team lead, Catherine, had her clinic, destroyed by Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
And from what I heard, didn't really bat an eye before, going out and helping people who had it worse off than her. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about Hurricane Helene. What have you noticed? What is like the aftermath? What's it looking like over there?
Yeah.
And what kind of solutions have you noticed those around you providing to people in need?
It has really been incredible. I mean, of course, what Catherine's out there doing is above and beyond, and she is just talk about a force of nature. My God, she is one, that's for sure, and a good one. So she has come together with so many other people. You're absolutely right. It was her first. I'm pretty sure her first inclination after just okay, we're all okay, what's going on out there? How are we going to help these people? Um, because so many of them did and still do need that. They're everywhere you look. There is someone has set out signs for non-potable water, especially before when most of our water system was completely destroyed. It is now sort of back, but still not normal. We still can't drink the water, but at least we have some running water. But back before, there were just everywhere somebody had bottles of water for free. People still have out just sitting out. Here's if you need a book, if you need a snack, if you need some water, here is this. Help yourself. Free. I've just see that everywhere. Free, free.
Wow.
Get what you need. The Asheville City School System has been running distribution centers for its staff and students, and really just anybody in the community, um, where they're giving out clothes, any kind of necessities, food, water, whatever supplies you need, as well as free meals for kids. Once a day, they're giving out up to 2 meals per child. You just come and ask, and you get some food. It's really just been incredible seeing everyone band together,
Yeah.
immediately step up, step out, and do, people getting together with their neighbors and just getting all their chainsaws together and opening up a road so that somebody that was hurt can get out. That happened a lot, especially like the immediately after. Um, and then, trying to, okay, well, let's clear the road. Here we go, because crews couldn't get there and people are still doing that. We had an amazing candlelight vigil last night in the
Mm,
downtown area that was put on by the city of Asheville, and uh, it really was. It was. It was emotional. It was
mm.
really emotional. Even I was so fortunate to have come out of this pretty much without really any damage to my home. All of my pets are safe. My children and my husband and I and my family members are all accounted for. And I just am so fortunate. Um, but the devastation around here is just beyond words. And I can't wait to see how Asheville's going to pick itself up though, because we're going to,
Oh
and we
yeah.
already are. And
Mm.
we're gonna make something cool out of it. That's for sure.
I mean,
Uh,
Asheville is such an incredible place. One of my good friends actually just visited Asheville right before the hurricane, and we went out to lunch, and she spent like 45 minutes. She was one PowerPoint presentation away from like she was on her pedestal talking about how Asheville is the best place in this country. There is so much soul. There is the energy is electric, the music is great, the people are fantastic, the food is amazing. It was so funny. She full, fully sold all of us at lunch on just moving to Asheville. And
yeah, come on up in a little
come
bit. Give
on
us
up.
a few months.
Get that's right. So I'm curious to know, John Mark has asked a really great question.
Yeah.
Before we start to wrap this episode up, we can uh, a lot of the people who listen to this podcast are in homes or have had homes at one point. So while this devastation is immeasurable, and, in some ways, like, unrelatable to people who have not experienced this level of devastation, I can kind of imagine what it's like to have a home and then to see that home fall to pieces. What I can imagine is what it's like to be living on the street when something like this happens, to not have, to have a few possessions that are near and dear to me in a backpack or in a tent, or in some kind of temporary housing, um, building or facility. And I'm curious to know, do you know anything about, or John Mark really asked this question, do you know anything about like the evacuation plan that was put into place for people who were unhoused at that time where the devastation really set in? Like what did that look like? What was that experience like?
Yeah, truly, I don't know a lot about it. I'm not sure we had one. I
Mm,
think, unfortunately, we were really pretty unprepared for any of this. I
yeah.
think, part of the problem too was that just none of us believed it was going to be that bad. Hurricanes aren't supposed to hit the mountains, and when they do, we had some flooding back in 2004 that and which was really awful. I think we got like 19 inches above flood level, but we did not have the winds and all of that. So I don't think that any of us were really expecting any of this. And so, the rescue efforts afterwards, people doing search and rescue, still doing search and rescue, bless them, are I think unprecedented, and I don't think we really had a plan for that. If there was an evacuation plan, yeah, I don't know a lot
Mm,
about it. I have been thinking about those people,
yeah.
for sure, because just the I hope, and I don't know, but I hope that they were able to find some sort of shelter because I know those tents were did not hold up
Yeah.
to something like that. So uh I'm just
I
really hopeful we're going to see a lot of our regulars back. I do know that one of our regulars is safe and sound. She's contacted us, so I do know
thank
that's the
God.
case. But yeah,
Thank God. And it is, it's your response is, I think, it's kind of like the nature of the game. Unfortunately, when these natural disasters happen, they put a huge spotlight on major gaps in city planning and government support for marginalized individuals and people who really need more support, now during these kinds of circumstances than ever before. So I kind of, unfortunately trust you when you say that you weren't aware of a plan. And as far as you know, there might not have been a plan because you don't expect hurricanes to hit the mountains. And yeah, I think we should maybe try to, in the future, um, it's just unfortunate how these situations have to present themselves before we're able to move forward as a community with a plan, especially with a plan for our most marginalized neighbors and our most, our neighbors in need. So, to kind of switch gears here, Mash, before I let you go, I'm curious to know how have you found time, amidst caring for others, amidst caring for animals, rescheduling clinics, all that stuff? How have you found time to take care of yourself?
it's been hard.
Mm,
I am again very fortunate to have a lot of loving, supportive family and friends who have, stepped up and said things to me and like, hey, don't forget to take some time for yourself. You
mm,
need me to watch the kids? Bring them over for a couple hours. Let them play.
mm.
I think just let me help. Let me help. Um, and I think that that is the crux of what we've been seeing a lot coming out here. And I am so thrilled to see it continue. I hope that that is something that we do continue to recognize is that there are extremely vulnerable people in our community.
Mm.
Um, for lots of reasons. And those are the people that we need to actively go to and say, let
Yes.
me help. Let me
Yes.
help. What can I do? Let me do this for you. Let me help you. And we've done that now. And I just want to see it continue. Um, we've come together, and as a state, you at the very beginning, you were talking a little bit about us getting just kind of hitting the ground running with assistance. We worked with the North Carolina Veterinary Medical Association, contacting them saying, hey, can we rustle up some donations? Let's do this. And the outpouring from community members, not even just veterinarians, was absolutely amazing. Park Veterinary Hospital in Durham sent an email asking for any donations from their clients. And overnight, they had donations more than could fill my SUV,
Wow.
just from clients, not even the clinic itself. It was incredible.
That's
My
Southern hospitality.
It's Southern hospitality. It's the strength of North Carolina.
Yeah.
My own hospital also immediately stepped up, opened without water, without electricity, Sage Pet Hospital in Hendersonville, to say we'll do whatever we can. Come
Mm.
to us, scanning microchips, just doing whatever. And we are now in case any other veterinarians in the area are listening and don't know, we have a pod from the North Carolina VMA at our facility, at our clinic, where we're housing donations. So whatever veterinarians in the area need something they can't get, they can come and get it for donations for clients who need help and can't afford it, or their veterinarian uh, is gone. Unfortunately, like Beacon Animal Hospital, that was just devastated. That's where Catherine works. And there were a lot of them. So, there's a lot of need out there right now for care of all kinds. And it really has just been amazing to see all of the work, the effort, the compassion. And I just want to see that continue on, because that's the beauty of our mountain community.
Mm.
And it's wonderful to see that strength.
Mash, this has been both inspiring and like dark episode, because I know that, um, it, it's in these moments of like darkness and turmoil and unexpected trauma that we see a little light at the end of the tunnel. And it's like we kind of need that darkness to see that light. And it is not surprising to me that you and Catherine, and I'm laughing because, I asked you a question about your own self-care, and it found the answer
That's right. I never
eventually
really answered it,
found
did
its way into
I?
caring for others. And that's amazing. I think that speaks it speaks so much to you and your personality and your heart and how willing you are to be that light in the darkness, and to remind people that even whenever things feel insurmountable, even whenever someone's home, someone loses their practice, someone loses their veterinarian. I know a lot of people lost their pets to this storm. That there are people like you, and there are people like all the other partners that you mentioned. Of course, none of this work can be done without, donors, supporters, kind-hearted people who believe in Asheville's resilience and in the resilience of all the towns affected by Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
It's I get emotional thinking about it. It's really inspiring to me. And it sounds like, or at least I'm hoping like, given the resourcefulness and the scrappiness of, I'm in Philadelphia, so I'll say my
Oh
neighbors
yeah.
below me, my neighbors below me. I'm hoping that, next time, if there is a next time, unfortunately, there very well might be a next time,
Yeah.
that we have an evacuation plan for our unhoused neighbors, that we have, you know, just a system of evacuation for everyone else as well, that we have resources and that we have tools that can help, kind of mitigate some of these problems before we even find ourselves in these problems. So, Mash, I want to thank you so much. I know we could talk about this for hours and
Oh yeah,
hours.
I could just go on and on.
I know, and I just, I will end this the same way I started this before hitting record, and that is just by thanking you. You really are an amazing person. We love you so, so, so much. We love Catherine so much. And we had this podcast episode scheduled before Hurricane Helene. We were gonna have
Yeah.
a nice little conversation about the mountains and about the street clinics. And I feel really privileged and honored to be able to kind of debrief with you. I wish that we would have conversed under different circumstances, but our audience, I know, has been really curious about our efforts in Asheville, and to get a firsthand account, from someone like you about what's actually going on. So I want to let our audience know that if you're interested in learning more about our Asheville team or supporting our Asheville team, you can hit the link in our show notes that will take you directly to our Asheville team's page. And I want to thank you, Mash. I want to thank our listeners so much. John, Mark, you already know we love you. I don't know if you're our biggest fan or we're your biggest fan, but either way, it means the world to have you here joining us live on these conversations. And Mash, um, I'm excited to connect with you again. Maybe in the new year, we can talk about the efforts to rebuild. I know we want to get Catherine on the podcast to connect with her as well when she's not busy saving lives.
Yep.
But yeah, I really want to thank you, Mash, and I appreciate you so much. Please continue to keep us posted on your efforts on the clinics that you guys are running. I can't wait to see pictures from the next one. I will probably be crying as I'm looking at those pictures, and I really want to thank you again, Mash, for everything.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Daria. It was a pleasure talking to you and supporting the podcast and being on. Thank
Yeah.
you, John.
Thank you, John. Until next time, Mash. Thank you.
Great. Have a good one.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Bye-bye.